back onto a weekend that showed the magic of the FA Cup is still alive. It kicked off with Wrexham dumping out Premier League Nottingham Forest. Not surprisingly, Sean Dyche wasn't quite feeling the romance of it all.
No lift in it because that was a different side. You know, I was just expecting them to push the side that have been playing. So no need to lift it. We just had a brilliant result. And, you know, I've got my own memories of the FA Cup. It's not that it hasn't got the same depth to a club like ours as the Premier League. But we can't accept players if they're not going to play hard for this club. And not for me, but for themselves, first of all, and for the badge. And the first half like that is just absolutely unacceptable. And then after that, you saw the players and why, like I said, why they play every week. And that's why, because they come on and affect the game like they did.
And when he went on to say, he said, they all knock on my door and say, why am I not playing? Well, the evidence, quite honestly, is there for some, if not all. And I do take that point, but, you know, I'm a big Sean Dyche fan, but did he make a mistake in making 8 changes?
Well, yes, because they've been knocked out of the cup. But that's what managers do with big squads. You know, you can argue that teams like Palace, Forest, teams like that, clearly and understandably don't have anything like the squads the Arsenals and the Cities have. So, I think clearly when they play a weakened side, when I say weakened, you know, if it was a crunch game, it wouldn't be their normal starting 11. Then it gives the opposition a far better chance. But whereas Arsenal and City and teams like that can, if they can't replace like for like, there's certainly not a major drop in standards in their changes. Whereas when you look at the performances of certainly Palace and Forest at the weekend, you would say that there is a dramatic drop in their standard.
Yeah.
So he finished up by saying, excuse me, he finished up by saying, I don't expect too many of them been champing my door this week.
Yeah.
And he's right. He's absolutely right. He's Dyche in particularly seen it from both sides. When he played with Chesterfield and they got to the semi-final and incidentally knocked out Forest and Wrexham en route to that semi-final, which sometimes football brings up strange wee quirks, and that was one. So he knows, Dyche knows better than anybody that if you're not on it as a top team, you're on the risk of losing, and they were miles off at first half.
Yeah, in the long term, they look back and maybe think it isn't necessarily hurt now, but it isn't necessarily a bad thing when they're battling for survival in the Premier League. I'm going to
they got this. It was the semi they got to last year, right? And they had a fabulous season last year, absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Obviously, just fell off a little bit towards the end, didn't get the Champions League place. But right now, the most important thing for Nottingham Forest fans is they're playing top flight football next year.
And that is the most important thing. So this might sound a daft question. It was a big win at West Ham for Forest. Of course, it was big win
without doubt
at West Ham. They've had Nuno this season. They've had Ange. He got 6 weeks in charge. Is there, bearing in mind the owner, is there any threat to Sean Dyche?
No, I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. For a number of reasons. The most important reason is I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think, bizarrely and strangely, and you make the point, it's clearly not a good thing getting knocked out the cup by Wrexham. It's clearly not a good thing, but it does concentrate their focus on the 2 other tournaments that they can have a serious effect on. I genuinely still believe they could win that European trophy. I do. I think they've got a team. They're starting 11, 12, 13 is more than capable of beating MD on their day.
I completely agree.
On their day, more than capable of beating MD. They didn't do that on Friday. They got what they deserved on Friday. But the bigger fight is staying in the division, and I think they'll do that.
Yeah.
But then, I think the point you make is a good one, because I think the owner, as fantastic as he's been for Forest, and he has 100% got Forest's best interests at heart, he's more than capable of making a decision that he thinks is right, but nobody else agrees with.
Yeah. Arsenal at home and Brentford away in the league in the next 2. We know what they're doing at Brentford, just achieving miracles at the moment.
He's doing really well, isn't he? Oh, my God. And Keith Andrews.
Fantastic. A lot of us, me included, need to eat our words, and I'll be very happy to do so.
Fantastic.
As far as Wrexham are concerned, look, it's not fairy tale. I mean, it really isn't a fairy tale because of the amount of funding they've had from Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds. And I don't say that with any bitterness at all, because they've done a brilliant job. They've put the money in, they've done everything they said they would do at that club. And I'll tell you what, it is great to see. I mean, I knew Rob McElhenney would be invested in it because he's heavily into football. I don't think Ryan particularly was, when
he's in it now, I can tell you.
But, oh boy,
I
see, you see him in the stands now. Talk about invested in it. He really is.
Jeff, he was literally no more than 10 yards away from me on the left-hand side. And he was as passionate and as animated as any owner or any fan, more importantly, as you saw at that game on Friday. And I'll tell you something else which I thought was brilliant. I was watching him beforehand. He went about there and he had time for everybody. It was great to see. Time for everybody. Pictures, autographs, the whole bit, and the crowd have taken to him, and so they should. And he certainly has a wonderful relationship with the supporters and the club. But I tell you right now, boy, is he invested in it.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally, and the whole package. Yeah. He was changing jerseys, which I think was for a little bit of luck as well. Things like that. He was just right into it. It was great to see. But the one thing you got to remember as well, it is a great story, right? And yes, they've had money to spend, right? They were always, Jeff, going to find their level for that period. They've had it now, because I think I go back to September. Might have been in September at one point. I think they were 21st in the league, mate, right? And then they went on a run. I think they certainly won the last 4 league games, I think, and they're now maybe a couple of points off the top 6. But I think I've certainly said to you in the past, I think that's where they are at this moment in time. Excuse me, what they don't want to do is clearly go down the division. I think they'll see themselves, their ideal plan would be stabilise there for a couple of seasons and then maybe try and have a kick. I'm not sure right now going up is a good thing for them.
No, I mean, my old mate Bryn-Law texted me last week and said, he said, I can't believe what's happened to us. He said, here I am trying to persuade Wrexham fans that it's too soon for us to be promoted to the Premier League.
I get that. I totally get it. Yeah. In fact, I agree with him.
Yeah.
Because I think,
do too. And
I'll tell you why, Jeff, because I think the changes that would be required if they do go up would be too great for them at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I think it has to be a gradual process.
Because the rise has just been astronomical.
And let's not forget, all of a sudden, whether we like it or not, they're a target now.
Oh.
Right? Because of the story, there's clubs and fans at other clubs. Jealous isn't the right word. Maybe slightly envious would be the word. And they're like that. Right, okay. They've come in, Hollywood this, Hollywood that. They've had a few quid. Let's see what they're about. And they become certainly a greater target than they were.
Yeah.